Good evening, everyone. Ethan Stieber here with Stieber Weather Forecasting. Here to talk about our first chance of severe weather for this calendar year. Pretty excited for it. And a little bit of what that's going to look like. We're going to talk about all the dynamics, and we're going to go pretty in depth on what's making the severe weather chance and kind of the limiting parameters that I see with it. So first off, here up on your screen right now is the current severe weather outlook for day 3. This is primarily is going to be a Tuesday evening event for us. So Tuesday, February 27th. Again, all the areas under a slight risk right now. We could see that upgraded tomorrow. We'll just see what the Storm Prediction Center has to say tomorrow morning. First off, before we get to that though, tomorrow's going to be a really nice day across the area. These are forecast high temperatures for tomorrow afternoon, right around, say probably around the noon hour, give or take. Looking at highs right around 70 degrees. That is crazy for the end of February. So if you have a chance to get outside tomorrow, really get outside and enjoy it, because it is going to be very unseasonably warm for February. And that will cool off again after this storm. That's helping fuel this slight risk kind of that we started talking about right at the start of the video. So again, slight risk up for the area tomorrow. Here's a different forecasting tool that we have. This is from Colorado State University. I've started doing some of these machine learning probabilities, just kind of a different severe weather forecasting tool that they're trying to use. Came out, I believe, last year or the year before. And again, notice it keeps us the severe weather probabilities that were issued for Tuesday, that were issued today. Notice it has us in what we would consider as an enhanced risk, with some of the larger severe weather chances kind of focused right over this area. And it goes one step further and breaks it down into categorical threats. So the first one on the top left is the tornado threat. Notice maybe a 5% tornado chance with that. Hail doesn't look to be as big of a factor. Maybe a 30% chance further north, say north of Champaign. And damaging wind would probably be our biggest threat for that. So to get severe weather, you have three main components that have to come together for severe weather to really lock in. You need instability, you need some sort of wind shear, and you need some sort of spark or some sort of trigger mechanism to cause all those ingredients to go together. So let's look for those three ingredients. First up, we're going to talk wind shear. This is the upper air kind of sounding or upper air forecast for, go back one. This will be Monday afternoon. Notice this is right when we're going to have all that really warm Gulf of Mexico moist air coming in. And what you can see on your screen, basically this map identifies and kind of shows us the different jet streams in the area. So we've got two main jet streams we're dealing with. Because of El Nino, this is the subtropical jet stream. This is usually much further south, but because of El Nino, it has been pushed a little bit further north. This is going to allow for some of that warmer Gulf of Mexico, like warm, moist air to really rise up into the area across from the Gulf of Mexico. The second jet stream you see up here, this big dip coming down through Washington State, is the polar jet stream. So these two jet streams are going to kind of do something pretty interesting, and they're going to kind of phase together, or they're going to try to phase together here in eastern Colorado, western Kansas. So let's see that if we go further along through the forecast period. This is now Tuesday afternoon. Notice these two jet streams have started to try to phase together a little bit. Notice that polar jet stream has dipped down into central Colorado, maybe western central Colorado, and this subtropical jet is kind of still at the same spot where it was, but it's starting to phase up a little bit. There will be enough of an energy transfer and enough of this shared kind of wind shear from both of these jet streams trying to merge together, which will bring us some pretty substantial wind speeds and wind shear across the area Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. So that's one of the three pieces. We'll have the wind shear. Next thing we look at is dew points, or if we have any moisture in the area, what kind of instability that we have that these storms could have to work with. This map that I have pulled up for you is the dew point readings for as this storm is moving through. Notice this is set for midnight Wednesday night, kind of more of an evening system as we talked about when these storms will be coming through. And notice the cold front will be stationed right over here. We'll say central Illinois through the Springfield down to the St. Louis metro area. And you could see that sharp cutoff with the really dry dew points off to the west and the really moist air ahead of that front off to the east. And notice we could be looking at upper 50s to around 60-degree dew points out of this system. So you're going to feel that moisture in the air, especially Monday afternoon and on into the day on Tuesday. And I can show you that if we back this up here. We'll pick this up starting Monday afternoon, right around that noon hour. And notice dew points are going to start getting up there. This is right about 50 degrees along that US 50 corridor, just a little bit less off to our north. As we go throughout the evening hours on Monday evening and on into the day on Tuesday, notice because of that subtropical jet stream, that warm, moist air is really able to move into the area and rise up from the Gulf of Mexico to really kind of start to destabilize our atmosphere a little bit. So this is midnight on Monday night, rather. Notice, again, already dew points looking right about that 60-degree mark, if not just a little bit shy of it. And if we go throughout the day on Tuesday, notice they stay up pretty close to that 60-degree mark, and they really get the highest right as those storms are getting ready to move through, especially southern Illinois, close to that Route 50 area. So we'll have dew points. That dew point will also help fuel some of the instability that will be in the area. This is what we call CAPE, or convective available potential energy. Basically, all that means is this is the storm juice. This is a combination of all of the different instability factors in the atmosphere that can give those storms that sort of spark. And it's this spark that they really need to become some of those larger severe storms that we might see, especially later in the springtime and on into the summer. So this, not a lot of instability, but they're not a non-substantial amount for especially late February. Notice we're looking at right about 1,000 joules per kilogram, if not just a little bit more, right ahead of this front. This is Tuesday during the noon hour. If we advance a little bit further, notice it gets much larger during the afternoon hours. We may be looking at anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 joules of energy. That'll slack off a little bit once the sun goes down as we go into the evening. This is for 6 p.m. Tuesday evening. Notice we're a little under 1,000 at that point, but there will still be some energy in the atmosphere. So we have all three components available for these storms to feed off of. I think it'll be a limited event. I don't think we're looking at a big severe weather outbreak or anything like that, but we could see some strong to severe storms out of this. So let's time it out on future radar for you. I went ahead and advanced this to, this is 6 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, or into Tuesday evening rather. Notice we're already starting to see some storms fire up in west central Illinois, say south of Davenport on down to the Quincy area. That'll be where our first line of storms really form up. Notice they're really starting to get everything gathered around, say around that Bloomington area down to Springfield and points west of there. As I said before, I think damaging winds are going to be the biggest threat out of this system, and you can even see it here on simulated radar. Anytime you see these storms on radar have kind of a bow shape, we call that a bow echo, and that's where a lot of damaging winds can be associated with those bow echoes. So as we go further along into the future here, we'll stop this at midnight, midnight Tuesday night. Notice the storms have kind of broken down a little bit. They've lost a little bit of that energy. Again, that's when we saw a little bit of that CAPE energy kind of go down a little bit, but we still could see some isolated severe storms out of this. And before the next line moves through into the early hours of the day on Wednesday, I think the biggest severe threat on Wednesday is going to be more associated down to our southeast. But again, we may see a stronger storm in the morning hours on Wednesday. Notice this is 4 a.m. on Wednesday morning. It's all out of here pretty well by the morning commute. This is 6 a.m. on Wednesday. All the storms are off to our south and east. So, again, I think the best timing for this is probably going to be into the later evening hours on Tuesday. We're looking, I would say, anywhere between 8 and 9 p.m. Severe threat should be over probably in the early morning hours, say around 3 a.m. Biggest threat for this is going to be some damaging winds. Hail and some isolated tornadoes aren't 100% out of the question, but I really think it's going to be a damaging wind event. These storms don't look to be really isolated in nature, which would, obviously raise that hail threat and that tornado threat. I think they're going to stay pretty linear. So damaging winds look to be the biggest threat out of this. Now, behind the system, we may talk about a couple snowflakes before this is all said and done. We'll pick this up at 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Notice as this system moves through, it's entirely possible because the cold air, we saw those two jet streams coming together. That polar jet stream is providing a lot of really cold air behind the system. That's what's, helping cause all of this severe weather that we have to talk about. We may see a couple snowflakes out of this before it's all said and done. Obviously nothing major, nothing to really talk about in terms of accumulations or anything like that. But, we could see a couple snowflakes before this is all said and done. This will move out of here pretty quick if we see anything. This is already at noon on Wednesday. Notice everything is well off to our east. But we have a lot of weather to cover, a lot of ground to cover in the next, 48 to 72 hours. Welcome to living in Illinois in the end of winter, transitioning into spring. So, biggest thing, we'll get back to the severe threat. Best chance of severe weather looks to be Tuesday evening. Right now, damaging winds look to be the biggest threat. Everything will be done and over with, I would say, after that 3 a.m. time frame, especially Wednesday morning. So look for another update tomorrow if things change. If we see a different update from the Storm Prediction Center, if the models start to agree a little bit better on what we can expect, we might see an enhanced risk put out. It's hard to tell at this point. So check back for updates tomorrow. For Steeper Weather Forecasting, I'm forecaster Ethan Steeper.